As we conclude our lesson on composition, in today's video, we are going to see and learn about how we can compose frames within the camera by using techniques such as back button focusing. This can be useful especially in cases when we are doing wildlife photography or when we are shooting moving subjects. Let's listen to Mr. Sarvanan Janakarajan as he teaches us about this through examples of his own work.
Now, what is back button focus and why is it important? In shutter button focus, when you half press the shutter will first ensure that your focus is acquired and then it clicks. So the button has to be kept half pressed to lock focus on the subject. Whereas on the AF lock or back button focus, we will disengage the shutter from focus acquisition, which means that the shutter is only there for metering. It has no job in terms of focusing. Hence, the focus is locked using the back button. The reason why it is called back button is because the AF lock button is present in the back of the camera and you use your thumb to lock the focus. So that is why it's called back button focus. So once you lock the focus on the subject and you remove your thumb from the button, you can move your camera anywhere 360 degrees and you bring back to the frame, the subject will still be in focus. If the subject is in the same plane or is in the same place, the subject will still be in focus, because that is how the back button works. It just locks the focus and it will not change till the button is pressed again. So this is a big advantage in wildlife and action photography, because once you have locked the focus using back button, you can shift your camera to left, right, up, down and recompose. Still the subject will be in focus. Now the advantage using a back button focus is that you can use the AF point to focus and recompose. Why do you need the center AF point? The center AF point is usually the sharpest in many low and mid-level cameras. Even in the higher end cameras, the center AF point is the best point to gather focus. And in many of the cameras, this is a very important point, that in many of the cameras, the spot metering works only on center AF points. Now, what spot metering is something not part of this session, but you want to learn about spot metering, please look at various other sessions on camera basics. But spot metering will work only on center AF point in many cameras, and that is why center AF point is essential to use for focus and recompose. And the most important thing in wildlife or in action photography is that the subject can change its position faster and thereby render the composition useless. So let's look at a scenario where you have a subject looking towards the right and you have moved your focus point in such a way that you have focused on the subject, and you are using the shutter button. You have used a half press on the shutter and you're just going to click the picture, but the subject jumps. The subject changes its position 180 degree, it flips, and now it's facing the opposite direction. You have clicked the picture and this is how the picture will come out. The problem is that the negative space is on the wrong side and your picture is not aesthetically good to look at. So all this could have been avoided by a very simple procedure of going back button. Now in back button focus, what we would have done is we have shifted the center of autofocus point up to the subject. We would have locked the focus point in such a way that this is the picture we would have desired. And even if the subject jumps, let's say it jumps and flips its over 180 degree, then all you have to do is shift the camera to the left Now, the reason why till the subject will still be in focus is because you have used the back button. The subject is focus is locked. It will not lose the focus. Hence, just by shifting the camera to now towards left rather than towards right, you will still be able to get a picture like this. So that is where the back button focus will help you get better compositions than a half shutter press. And your center AF point moving is far better than moving the AF points through the whole frame of the camera. Looking at the composition sessions we have had a session on rules of composition, the rules of thirds, placement of horizon, leading lines, patterns and textures. And we also seen, while rules are important, we have to break the rules in certain cases, like when we're shooting actions or we have multiple elements, how to place the elements in a frame. Also, we have understood in-camera compositions using autofocus points. I have touched upon the back button focusing. I would request all those who are interested in wildlife photography and action photography to look at back button focusing in detail, because this is something which is very, very essential, and your front shutter button being used for focusing will not help you get good pictures in action as well as wildlife photography. And we also learned how to do focus and recompose. This is a technique which is best suited for action and for wildlife photography. And this concludes our session on composition. We have seen the rules of composition, we have seen the in-camera features, and we also seen when we can break the rules of composition. Composition is the building block for a good photograph, and it is the artistic part of the photography. As a photojournalist, as a photographer, to grow, you need to learn composition. I urge you to go out and try out various composition using the rules so that your photographs become better day by day.
This video concludes our lesson on composition, its rules, and using the camera features to achieve the desired output. It is extremely important that we realize that composition is a creative and an artistic technique which varies from individual to individual. And knowing all the rules of composition, we must know when to use these rules and when to break them. We hope that an introduction to all these rules of composition will inspire you to take photographs and also to study the composition and the photographs of great photographers and photojournalists. It is only through practice, observation, experimentation and exploration that we will get better at composing photographs.